taken out of context.
Taken out of context.
Taking things out of context.
Out of context.
Taken out of context.
Taken out of context.
In the context.
We have more context.
Out of context.
Taken out of context.
That is so out of context.
Out of context.
You're taking it out of context.
Now, hey, hold on. So we're going to flesh this out because I don't want nobody saying we don't take things in context.
Clipped me out of context.
It was out of context.
It's hard for your words to be taken out of context.
The full context.
In a modern day context.
Tell me the context.
Another important reminder as to why context is so important. So,
hello everybody, welcome back to my channel, Straight Out of Context. I'm Barbara Ann. Happy November, fair use, and copyright disclaimer.
Here's Candace Owens for you in less than 60 seconds. So say you're in your house and you have to call the ambulance for one of your family members. So the ambulance comes, takes your family member to the hospital. About 10 minutes later, a neighbor comes pounding on your front door and they say, why was the ambulance here? Who went to the hospital? Why were they, what happened? Who in the house hurt them so that they had to go to the hospital? I want details. I want receipts. I want names. I want numbers. And you say, hold on. This is our house. These are our details. And you need to wait for those to come out to the public. And she says, well, I'm your neighbor. I can see your house from my front door. So we're close. I'm close with you. So tell me your details. Who hurt them in the house? Were they a boy or a girl when they were hurt? I want to know. And you say, listen, back off. You're not part of this household and you need to wait for the details. And she says, well, you better bring something or I'm going to start making stuff up. I'm just going to start making stuff up until you tell me. And I'm going to tell all the other neighbors. I'm going to tell all the other neighbors what I've made up. And I'm going to get them against you too. I'm going to have them all turn on you. And you say, listen, you do you. You do you. Just get out of my house. Shut up and get out of my house. And she says, okay, fine. If you're not going to tell me the details, I'm going to go to war with you. And I'm going to set your house on fire. I don't care. I don't care. That is Candace Owens in a nutshell. The band has kicked her out of the band and she's pissed off. So she's making things up. If Charlie's wife didn't trust her enough to call her, if Charlie's inner circle didn't trust her enough to call her, that means Charlie told them things about Candace that made them leery of Candace. That's why she's not in the inner circle. That's why she is not in their house. So every time you want to give credence to what she's saying, remember, she's quoting texts that are written when he was 23, 24 years old in 2018. If I die, please don't quote anybody who I texted 7, 8 years ago. They're not in my circle anymore. Ask somebody who's in my circle. Thank you. Have a good day.
I have been paying very close attention to Candace Owens. I've broken the code. I have solved the puzzle. And it was exactly what I have been thinking the entire time. What I have been talking about in my videos for the last 2 months. But first, take a listen to this first clip.
Right answer. He gave the right answer at least. And he's talking... I totally oppose his program. Just
Absolutely.
To be clear. I don't think it works, but he's talking about economics.
Yep.
And everyone else is talking about foreign policy.
So he said what I said. I am describing to you why Mamdani won, and you're angry that people are assessing why that happened. It doesn't matter how many times you call somebody an anti-Semite. People appreciated, it's very obvious, the fact that he was not focused on foreign policy issues when there's so many domestic ones to prove from.
Independent podcaster in the, quote, free market, unquote. This isn't a podcast. This is YouTube. This is a content creator on YouTube. That is what Candace Owens does. That's what Charlie Kirk did. That is what Tucker Carlson does. Megyn Kelly does. Ben Shapiro, Nick Fuentes. They are YouTubers. They're not these super intelligent people in the tech sector, in business, in real estate, or in politics. They are commentators on YouTube. That is what they are doing.
You got to learn why you lose elections, and it's not Tucker's job to get people elected, least of all in cities that he doesn't live in. Now, I want to also show you what Ben said about me because it's so outrageous and it's so dishonest that we actually should process what is happening here.
Bigger content creators, especially on YouTube, using words constantly like they, stereotyping and stereo grouping without having to commit defamation by actually naming somebody. Who is they that she's always referring to? It's not only vague, it's ambiguous, which gives them plausible deniability. When you say, wait a minute, you're referring to Zionists or Jewish Americans or Jewish people or Israel. Saying, quote, they, unquote, is a very clever, conniving way of trying to portray a really steadfast, not only standpoint and viewpoint, but to make some of the worst verbal allegations against a race, a religion, an entire country, or government. It's dishonest, It's misleading. It's disingenuous. But like I said, she is very much aware of what she is doing and how she is wording things, playing on your fear and your paranoia and packaging it all up under God and truth. And if you don't agree with her, then you aren't on the side of God and truth. Coming from somebody who is a new Catholic. I don't like that because I am a Christian and I have been for 40 years of my life. I do not act like I am better or smarter or superior or holier than thou than anybody else. And I have a lot of friends who have differing religions than me or no religion at all. Every American has the right to the First Amendment, which is the right to your own religion. I don't push it on anybody. And I love many people that are different than me. That's the beauty in people. I don't want to know or talk to or associate or be friends with or surround myself, be in a community of people who are exactly like me. How boring would that be? But packaging, finding the truth, exposing the truth, serving justice, when Candace Owens is nothing more than a YouTuber, is very misleading. But pay close attention to how she talks about other YouTubers, other political commentators, other political organizations, because it is an oxymoron to call yourself a conservative Republican, a Catholic, and in the same breath, not believe or align with your party's affiliation and administration. You're either a conservative Republican and a Catholic, or you are not. But yet, in the same breath, she twice pushed people to vote for Donald Trump, supported MAGA. Now that she thinks he's being backed and controlled by Zionists and Israel, she screams things like MAGA is dead. Her priorities and her values and her morals, her standards, don't seem to apply across the board. And if we're going to talk truth, Charlie Kirk was not the be-all, end-all of the conservative movement, of the youth movement. He was almost 32. He's not the be-all, end-all of politics or business. He's not even a politician. He's not even the end-all, be-all of YouTubers, political commentators. Nobody deserves what happened to him. Absolutely not. But I think it's time for people to wake up and realize that Candace Owens is not just a psyop. She is being backed, funded, and paid to push, pull, and talk about government, business, politics, all of which I think is not even her line of job. Her career is technically YouTuber. So first and foremost, that means that she needs topics for her content. And notice, going back to any of her episodes, she's notorious for using Twitter, now known as X, for instigating and provoking responses out of other YouTubers, other people that are in the content creation spaces or political commentary. And over half of her content is her then using those responses in her content. Have you ever seen the movie The Human Centipede, where the crazy doctor surgeon takes all of these bodies and he stitches their mouth to the former body's anal opening? It's a giant human centipede, a giant social human centipede. It is one big fat circle jerk. It's one big giant circle of a whole bunch of bigger YouTubers all jerking each other off in a circle. Because Candace Owens also, under fair use, uses a lot of content, clips of other people, and picks it apart, gets into the nitty-gritty, the semantics, overanalyzing, exactly how she does the provoked reactions that she instigates out of people on X, to then further drive more topics, more content. But the only person she's never done that to is herself. And I want you to pay very close attention to how Tucker Carlson, Charlie Kirk, Megyn Kelly, Nick Fuentes, Candace Owens, even Ben Shapiro, all use each other and each other's content. But Candace Owens, she drives conspiracy theories and she knows it. That's why she's very, very careful, very conniving and cunning on how she words they, them, evil, demons, demonic. She heavily insinuates and implies so she can backtrack and backpedal and say, that's not what I said. I didn't say that Turning Point USA murdered Charlie Kirk. You didn't have to. You heavily implied and insinuated it. Charlie Kirk was smart, and he was fully in charge of Turning Point USA up until the moment he died. And then after that, his wife took over. To imply that they were betrayed or that they have horrible staff that betrayed Charlie and helped aid the events that surrounded his assassination is not only to undermine Charlie Kirk and his wife, Erica Kirk, but it also undermines Charlie Kirk's legacy, his intelligence, his hard work. I would love to see a Candace Owens episode where she doesn't talk about anybody else, nothing regarding Twitter or anybody else's, quote, statement on their YouTube channel. Because having episodes on YouTube is not a podcast. It's not a website. It's not a, quote, show, unquote. And it's no coincidence that everybody who got fired from a mainstream media outlet, Dan Wooten, Piers Morgan, Tucker Carlson, Candace Owens, Megyn Kelly, are all, I have my own show on YouTube. Videos. You have videos on YouTube. The same way I do, the same way every other content creator on YouTube does. All people who the Daily Wire, Fox News, CNN, the BBC, or Good Morning Britain had fired. They're all in a dishonest circle jerk. They're all in a human centipede, all sucking each other's asses, all just jerking each other off. And what is the end goal? Because none of them are accomplishing anything. And last but not least, Candace Owens is certainly not, quote, solving the murder of her friend, Charlie Kirk, unquote.
Okay, this is a watershed moment. Ben does not have it together. He is very insecure, and he's going on the attack against Megyn Kelly by lying about what I said and then forcing her to react to the evil of what I never said.
But here she is backpedaling because she did say those things. She did imply them and insinuate them. She didn't say them outright because even though she wants you to think that she has the confidence and the backing of God, the backing of the free market, and all of the good Christian people, she's doing the same damn thing that Ben Shapiro has always done. Just say what you mean and mean what you say. Stop beating around the bush with insinuations. Her content is 99% insinuating and implying and not saying things directly as she wants to say them, but implying them in a way where you understand what she is really saying.
Here's what Ben said.
We're in a business where people comment on what we say publicly. Again, this is why.
It's not just people that are commenting on what they have to say. It's each other all commenting on what each other has to say. To not only overinflate each other's large followings and subscribers, but they're doing it to keep each other in the large mainstream media atmosphere and overinflate their sense of importance. That is social blackmail. They are socially blackmailing you. And if you believe this and you buy it, you have been brainwashed.
I think you and I differ on our angle with regard to, for example, Candace Owens. I think that what Candace Owens is doing right now is evil. It is evil what she is doing right now. Okay, and I say that again.
But what?
Because
like I don't opine on whether it's evil or not. But my position is it's really none of my business. And
why is it? But I have a question. Why is it none of your business?
It's everybody's business, and of course it's evil. She has implied that Turning Point USA, which Erica Kirk is CEO of since her husband died on September 10th of 2025, up to the day that Charlie died, he was in charge of his organization, to imply literally verbatim on her ex Twitter post that, quote, Charlie was betrayed by everybody, unquote. Then start to not only ask questions about Turning Point USA employees, attacking them, attacking their moral character by insinuating that they didn't act right that day, that they didn't respond correctly the very moment that Charlie Kirk was assassinated with a single bullet by a single gun by a single person who has been found by Utah law enforcement, has been charged by Utah law enforcement with the help of the FBI. His wife and his organization has thanked them from day one with a public statement for their hard work, for their efforts, for bringing justice, for solving the homicide, the deliberate assassination of Charlie Kirk. And I'm going to show you very soon, but Erica Kirk's recent interview, she says that she knows what the case is based off of, because she has seen things that Candace Owens is not privy to. So why is she trying to still tamper with witnesses and obstruct justice? Now notice that gag order that Candace Owens said, quote, I am willing to violate the gag order on behalf of finding the truth about Charlie Kirk, unquote, on behalf of everybody, on behalf of truth and justice. The gag order doesn't apply to her. Have you wondered why her last 10 videos aren't still diving into the actual case against Tyler James Robinson? Have you wondered why she has stopped talking about the actual events surrounding the assassination of Charlie Kirk? Because she was trying to reach out to Tyler James Robinson's parents, who are witnesses in the indictment. I'm almost positive they will be subpoenaed and they will have to testify under oath at his trial. But she also was trying to get in touch with Lance Twiggs, his roommate / lover, and their family, who are also all witnesses, key witnesses. And then she goes to almost 8 million followers on X and almost 6 million followers on YouTube and tries to deliberately bias a jury pool. She wants Tyler James Robinson acquitted, a hung jury, or a mistrial, so she can sit back and say, see, I was right. See, I was right. See, I told you that they're corrupt. I told you that the feds didn't have anything. I told you. When really it would be her interference. And the fact that Erica Kirk had to say it without saying it, directed at Candace Owens, but to please give her employees grace. She has seen the case. She has seen the evidence. She knows what it's built on, and she knows that justice will be served. But it's not going to be solved by Candace Owens because it's already been solved. That is the part that I am trying to get through to ignorant people who follow Candace Owens so blindly. She relies on your ignorance and your stupidity.
comment on these things for a living.
I'm not mother of the internet.
No, but if this were on the left and somebody were accusing Charlie Kirk of his wife having murdered him, I assume that you would be talking about it.
Is that what Candace is accusing Erica of?
Yes.
Of murdering her own husband?
She's accusing TPUSA insiders and other members of the right wing, including Seth Dillon, of being involved in...
And Donald Trump. She has literally stated in a live that she did while she was on a 10-day vacation from her YouTube channel that not only Donald Trump, the Trump administration, and Israel all killed Charlie Kirk because they gave him a boulevard and a holiday. Verbatim, that is what she said. And then she got mad and tried to copyright strike anybody who shared under fair use and copyright law any clips of that. The same exact way she sat down with Tucker Carlson and told him and the world that she didn't want a, $400+ million lawsuit against her from the president of France and his wife to be dropped because she wants to prove that Xavier Poussard, who did a 9-year investigation into Brigitte Macron being Jean-Michel Trogneau, because she backed his investigation, brought it to mainstream media and an English-speaking audience. She usurped it. She staked her career and her reputation on it. And what does she do? That's why I linked it everywhere. She secretly and quietly tried to have it dismissed under 3 different legal technicalities. So I have started seeing Candace Owens in a very different light when I started objectively listening to what she's saying versus what she does. Exactly how she operates her content, what it's built off of, what she's saying. But that gag order never applied to Candace Owens. She wasn't even there that day when Charlie was assassinated. She wasn't even in the same state or on the same side of the country. She is dishonest when she says that she's willing to violate a gag order for truth and justice. The gag order has nothing to do with her. So ask yourself, why does Candace Owens want to be the purveyor of truth, of Jesus, of God, of religion, of goodness versus evil? Demon versus the righteous, when she's truly acting and saying things in evil ways, pointing fingers at everybody else, but never in the mirror. Free speech, yes. And that is exactly how she gets around committing slander, libel, or defamation, by using the word they, grouping and stereotyping a race, a religion, a country, a government, an administration, so she can beat around the bush with her insinuations and her heavy implications without having to commit defamation.
In the murder of Charlie Kirk, yes.
it's just, I don't even know how to respond to it because it just never happened. It's so crazy. He's not even anywhere near what's happened. Anybody who's watched this show, I actually was getting flack from my audience for not covering Erica's past or speaking about her parents. I said she gave one of the most consequential speeches, and I have focused my investigation on Turning Point USA and why they're telling certain lies. Seth Dillon, I told the truth that Seth Dillon lied about the Hamptons meeting and that he was pressuring Charlie about the topic of Israel.
Again, and none of that pertains to the assassination of Charlie Kirk at all. Charlie Kirk made a lot of domestic enemies in young adults right here in his own country of America because they didn't agree with his rhetoric or his condescending, conceited overinflation of not only his own ego, but his own intellect. And I didn't dislike Charlie Kirk, but I wasn't a fan. Nobody deserves to be assassinated. But what does all of these YouTubers, all of these staff members at these organizations that run these YouTube channels, or all of these campus events, which are only hosted for one reason, to record content for YouTube, to monetize and make a lot of money off of the ad revenue, talking about specifically politics, government, religion, the state of the country, because it's a big topic that gets the views, the clicks, the likes, the comments. It is more likely that 1 out of 340 million American citizens assassinated Charlie Kirk than Israel, whom he was a huge supporter of. I've proven that with his own letter to Bibi Netanyahu, which Candace Owens coincidentally skimmed right over because it doesn't fit her narrative or her conspiracy theories. But yes, it is very likely that one young person that didn't like Charlie Kirk or his messaging is the one who took his life. And that's exactly what happened. If it can happen to Charlie Kirk, it can happen to anybody, especially someone like Candace Owens, who would be a better target for Israel, for Zionists, for Jewish people, for Jewish Americans. Yet Candace Owens is completely fine. Erica Kirk, in her recent sit down, did reaffirm the fact that Charlie Kirk, who said it himself multiple times, he observed the Sabbath. But Candace wants you to believe that he was converting to Catholicism. His own wife has proven that that is not true. He was an evangelical Christian who loved Catholic churches, who loved sometimes attending Mass. But he also observed the Jewish Sabbath, exactly like Jesus of Nazareth did. From Friday at midnight to Saturday on midnight. The 7th day, the day that God rested, the day that everybody is supposed to rest. If he hated Judaism or Israel, why was he observing the Sabbath then? And why was he such a staunch defender of Israel? And what in the hell does any of that have to do with 22-year-old Tyler James Robinson deciding to make a bad decision and assassinate him with a single gun, with a single bullet on a single day, and then run like a little coward? Nothing. It has absolutely nothing to do with it. It is just fluff and filler for content. 29 videos she has made about solving the murder of Charlie Kirk on YouTube since September 10th. That's not even 2 months. And now she's in a human centipede, a circle jerk with other YouTubers and other people, other Jewish people, other Zionists, because real witnesses, real jury, lawyers, other key witnesses, the judge, law enforcement officers that are and have investigated the assassination of Charlie Kirk and are going to be taking part of the trial are under a gag order. Therefore, Candace is fucked. And this is going to be another open-ended investigation, like her investigation into Brigitte Macron or Harvey Weinstein or Jeffrey Epstein. None of them have conclusions. None of them. They are designed that way purposely because investigations were already done into those things. They were already concluded. The way that she tried badgering Harvey Weinstein into admitting whose toes did he step on that was bigger than him. He was so confused and had absolutely no idea what she was talking about. Harvey Weinstein was the toes of Hollywood. She was trying to incite him to say a Jewish name that was international and bigger than him. One that would have, could have, and had incentive to frame him. But there wasn't one. Harvey Weinstein is a pig who abused his power. That is fact. But also, she wants you to think that she's a good investigator. Then why is she picking up investigations that have already been concluded or done by real law enforcement officers? If she thinks that they're corrupt, why isn't she looking into those officers, the judges, the district and prosecuting attorneys, lawyers, legal firms? When you do 29 videos promising that you are going to solve the homicide, the assassination of your friend Charlie Kirk, all 29 videos are therefore open to criticism and critique. Because under that guise, and under that promise, and under that investigation title, under those exact words, you are saying that everything you are talking about, everybody that you are provoking and talking about, not only did they assassinate Charlie Kirk, but they aided and abetted, that they set the stage and that they had a hand to play in it. That is inadvertently what you are saying. And that is not only evil, that is dangerous rhetoric. As Erica Kirk said, it's not her job to tell a grown woman to please stop. She has 2 little ones, a 3-year-old and a 1-year-old. She doesn't want her kids to grow up and to see all of this on the internet one day.
Or once accused Seth Dillon of murdering Charlie Kirk. So what's he actually doing here, right? Obviously, there's a lot of layers that we should peel back, and it's important that we do it. The least interesting part of this is the fact that he's lying through his teeth. That's implied he's a Zionist. But there's a lot more that's happening that meets the eye, because Ben Shapiro was effectively the final boss of the pro-Israel lobby, and it's because he never comes out and says what he means. He's kind of like more of a behind-the-scenes person, and we're now watching him come undone in real time, because no matter who you are, in this age of digital media, it is simply not a good idea to lie through your teeth.
Yep, but the only person that is monetizing this very heavily is Candace Owens, because nobody else has made 29 videos in less than 2 months promising for truth and justice and to solve a homicide that's already solved.
Before you get the lie out, the internet is going to clock it, right? They're going to go back and be like, you lied. And when you do something like that, the blowback is going to be on you. They're going to go, actually, this now impacts your credibility. You said that Candace went out and said something about Erica. By the way, you hear the people in the background going, woo! I'm going to tell you what's happening there too. And you're going to see how this thing really works.
And yet she didn't tell us what was really happening there. That was real people who were really applauding because they really see Candace Owens for who and what she is. Cut the bullshit. Cut the implying and the insinuating and the provoking of everybody to then turn around and use their reaction for content. Say what you mean and mean what you say, because anything else is an omittance. It is a deflection, and it is not the truth. That is evil, and it's evil in a very horrible psychological and social way.
Point number 1 that I want to make about what Ben is doing right here is just the stunning hypocrisy of it. Imagine being in my position when you see someone who did everything he could to kind of stop the rise of Charlie Kirk, now trying to struggle session Megan, who was actually a very good friend to Charlie. Charlie deeply respected her. And towards the end, obviously, she took a very principled position on telling the truth about what he was going through.
Again, the circle jerk, the human centipede, the he said, she said, they said, then placating and ass-kissing each other. But again, with the insinuations and the heavy implications, this has nothing to do with the investigation of the homicide of Charlie Kirk or exposing anybody that is truly corrupt and proving that corruption. Listen to the words that she is saying. It's he said, she said, they said.
And Charlie dies, and suddenly he's like, I care about this evil that could be Candace investigating who killed her friend, and she shouldn't be doing that. And there's no way to spin it. What is the suggestion here? That me asking questions about Turning Point USA somehow means I'm blaming Erica, who wasn't even working for Turning Point USA when Charlie died, because now she's the CEO? Of course he doesn't believe that. And it is just, to me, it is truly so gross to do this to a person that you know you tried to block, and you just, now that he's dead, I guess you want to sort of rewrite history. That's what you're trying to rewrite history and pretend that this repeat failed strategy of lying and threatening people is going to work. Now you might be asking, well, how is Megyn Kelly being threatened here? This is exactly what Ben just did on stage. That is exactly the moral blackmail that Charlie was speaking about in the last days of his life, okay? Ben is morally blackmailing Megyn, right? He's sitting across.
And every time she uploads a video, Candace Owens is socially blackmailing almost 6 million people, along with brainwashing them and trying to indoctrinate them. Do not believe it. Do not fall for it.
Her, the threat to her reputation. He's standing there and he's saying, Candace is attacking a grieving widow and accusing her of murdering Charlie Kirk. Will you disavow this evil on the spot? I don't really care about your feelings, so please keep me in context. There's a lot people can learn from me. All that aside, I have to say that I was quite stunned that he found within himself, Ben, the audacity to present this attack on Tucker.
Again, it's not about solving the assassination of Charlie Kirk, exposing corruption. It's the human centipede. It is a circle jerk. Talking about Megyn Kelly, Ben Shapiro, Tucker Carlson. She's even turned her attention to Turning Point USA employees. Erica Kirk's current employees. Why? Because she has nothing else. She can't investigate the homicide of Charlie Kirk. So it's all fluff and filler to make you think she's doing something. That's not only dishonest, that is very misleading and deceiving. And that is evil because she's either crazy and doesn't realize it, or she is as smart as she wants you to believe that she is, and she knows exactly what she's doing.
Obviously, this has been my obsession since we all watched Charlie Kirk be executed in front of the world, and then a lot of people lie about it, and a lot of people who were not acting right or grieving right, who were his closest comrades and business partners. And let's be frank, as I get inch closer and closer to discovering the truth, we should recognize that this is pretty dangerous stuff. And my theory now, I feel confident stating that Charlie Kirk was taken out by something much bigger than Turning Point USA organization that he was running.
And there you have it. She makes you a promise that she is going to solve the assassination, the homicide of her friend Charlie Kirk. She is not going to stop. She's going to be his David because nobody else, including his wife, will be his David. It was a prophecy. Charlie Kirk had a premonition, and he just knew Candace Owens was going to be the savior of the world. Candace Owens has provoked and dug into and used the reaction of many people, including the Prime Minister of Israel, the administration of President Donald Trump, Charlie Kirk's own organization, Turning Point USA, and his own wife, employees, family, friends. It is the fakest, most dishonest topic and content creation I have ever seen. She digs into everybody and implies that they are lying or they're not acting right, they're not grieving right, that they're dirty, that they're corrupt, that they're criminal, that they're evil on the side of Satan. Then she backtracks. She did several videos blaming Turning Point USA employees. But now that Erica Kirk has stated to give them grace and to back off because she knows justice will be served, Candace Owens immediately says that she feels confident now after looking into Turning Point USA, that Turning Point USA had nothing to do with it. It's actually something much bigger. Yet she refused to look into the sheriff in Utah, the district or the prosecuting attorney, any mayor or governor of Utah. She even flirted with Kash Patel, the FBI director, because she knows that he was a close personal friend to Charlie Kirk even before he became the FBI director. She does a lot of fluff and filler using all of these people and organizations, all of these Twitter posts and responses and statements and text messages and emails and memos. And then she wants you to believe that she concluded the investigation and there's nothing there. Now it's an even bigger conspiracy. It's bigger than Turning Point USA. We already know that she has been saying from day one without really saying, because she doesn't have the balls to do it, unless she thinks that she's not being recorded, that President Donald Trump, the U.S. military, Benjamin Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, therefore Israel, are the reason and the cause of the assassination of Charlie Kirk. But she won't say that because that would be dangerous, to say the truth of what she really thinks and feels, but cannot prove. And why can't she prove it? Well, as you've seen in the 10-page indictment, which I have added to 3 different videos and read aloud, Tyler James Robinson, in fact, does confess 3 different times in the indictment alone, including to a family friend, his parents, and his lover, who are all going to be key witnesses and likely put on the stand under oath. Charlie Kirk was deeply devout to his faith as a Christian. He supported Israel. If he was alive, he would still support Israel. And he even observed the Sabbath. As he said in his own words, quote, "I want Israel to win. I am a friend to Israel," unquote. So why would Candace Owens go in this big circle jerk, this big human centipede, all for content? Well, it begs the question, how much is she making? Well, somebody over on X has been doing the math, and it is alleged that she's making over $5 million on those 29 videos, especially almost $2 million off of the first 18, with allegedly an almost $1.5 million in ad revenue, gifts, live gifts, subscriptions to her website, subscriptions to her YouTube channel, monetary live gifts, super chats, super stickers, because her viewership has skyrocketed since she said the words that she is independently investigating the assassination of Charlie Kirk and that she is going to solve the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And yes, I am quoting her because I have the clips. They are also uploaded independently to my YouTube channel in context.
He's got these fake people going, woo, yeah. And you can see Megan's uncomfortable. She's like, well, did she say that? Man, like, maybe that is evil. Like, is that happening? Double down. He's like, yes. She said, Seth Dillon murdered Charlie Kirk. Will you disavow this evil on the spot? That is moral blackmail. Are you a better person than to accept Candace Owens, who has attacked a grieving widow and is saying to that grieving widow that you murdered your own husband? That is moral blackmail. Now, speaking of on the spot, everything that you just saw happen here, and Megan Kelly, I hope you see this. Truly, you guys, send this clip to her.
That is exactly the circle jerk. That's how it works. That's how she operates it. She implies and insinuates what she really wants to say. And when somebody else says it, she says, I didn't say that. All 29 videos is exactly that. Therefore, blaming Ben Shapiro, who is Jewish and American, supports Israel and is a Zionist. Everything that Candace Owens is biased against, absolutely hates. So she can sit back after being a sociopath and a narcissist, absolutely socially blackmailing an entire cult of people into believing her bullshit, and not only play victim, but then to use that and say, see, I did not say that, because you didn't have to. You want other people to do it for you because you aren't ballsy enough to say what you mean and mean what you say. She doesn't want to get sued for defamation. She doesn't want to lose her YouTube channel or get a strike, which means that this is money driven for her. This isn't about the government or a president or any foreign nation. It's not about politics or business or the homicide of Charlie Kirk. Candace Owens is very cleverly creating her own content by gaslighting and manipulating other people, whether it be Jewish, Zionist, Jewish Americans, other big content creators, other YouTubers, other political commentators, into reacting, into talking about her, into giving a statement. Therefore, she can use that and then turn around and play victim and say, I didn't say that. I'm now the victim because they're attacking me. You know what that is? That is the playground bully, not the one that just comes up to you and smacks the hat off of your head. It's the little girl that's too scared to fight her own fights, while trying to make you believe that she's so big, bad, and tough and hardcore and always wins every fight by gaslighting and manipulating her friends, that the people she hates and has a grudge against, the people that she wants to go beat up, are against her friends. Therefore, she gets her friends to do her dirty fighting for her so she can stand back and say, haha, see, I hate you. But it's funny that my friend beat you up. That is what Candace is doing to her following, to her subscribers, to society. It is social manipulation, social gaslighting, and blackmail. She is the narcissistic, sociopathic bully, except for her playground is YouTube, and her provocation is politics, foreign policy.
It totally embarrasses me and shows that I'm a white nationalist. Take a listen.
You can criticize Netanyahu without being anti-Israel, and you can criticize Israel without being anti-Semitic. But some of the themes, talking points, concepts you've used in your criticism of Israel, I'm very familiar with from covering white nationalists for 10 years.
It is first and foremost imperative that you pay attention to how pissed off Candace Owens gets immediately. But you are going to watch exactly what I have been talking about in real time when her own tactic is used on her. Watch how cleverly she Darvos this. While acting like she's addressing it head on, she doesn't. She deflects. And it's not only clever, that is the cycle of Candace Owens' entire YouTube channel, of her content, of her topics, her investigations, and her so-called research. And just a little side note here, if she was that good at research and investigating, she wouldn't rely on everybody sending her tips into her tip box. She's manipulating and gaslighting you, just like she does everybody else, into giving her her content, because she simply has nothing otherwise.
It's very unsettling for me to hear things like you saying our government is occupied by Zionists, Trump is occupied by Zionists, we're an occupied nation. Because, like, There's literally a term that's like an 80s, 90s term from white nationalism, ZOG, Zionist Occupied Government. It's their idea that Jews control the world. And I'm wondering, like, are you intentionally referencing those kind of themes?
Wait, just to slow this down. Are you accusing me of white nationalist rhetoric? Because I do have to have a little bit of a giggle about that first.
Well, I mean, to me, I'm also like, they'd be no fan of yours.
It's silly. But this is one of the things where I feel like it's such a lesson for CNN. This is why nobody watches it anymore. I mean, it's like you're sitting across from a black person. You're like, I've learned about white nationalism, and you're using white nationalist rhetoric.
Like, I know them. I've been to their rallies. I've read all their texts.
I get it. I know. I'm so glad you're educated. But this is when.
And that is how conniving and clever Miss Candace Owens is. She not only did not answer the question, she then was able to try and humiliate and embarrass this young woman by trying to reverse the roles. She is doing nothing more but simply asking questions based on real quotes and statements in context verbatim that Candace Owens has made. And in less than 8 seconds, she was able to make it seem like this girl was implying that not only was she uneducated and stupid, but that it's laughable to ask her if she's a white nationalist. That's not what she asked. And Candace Owens doesn't answer the question. If she thinks that the government of the United States of America is run by Zionists, rich Jewish people who believe in self-determination for the Jewish people, of a homeland of the Jewish people, after being displaced hundreds of times in 5,000 years from the land of Israel, that being a Zionist is the worst thing you can ever be. To Candace, that is equal to being Hitler. But she's able to turn this around, deflect the question, by making this young girl feel like she did or said something wrong by simply asking it. While Candace Owens cleverly insults herself and her intelligence, as if this young girl asking the question is doing that by asking the question. And then she simply uses her asking that question as a way to victimize herself and then further perpetuate her anti-Semitic stance and rhetoric. And feel free to go back and rewatch this. You will see it. You will hear it. You will watch it. And then you will see. The Jewish people have the right to self-determination. It doesn't matter if a Zionist owns and controls the entire world, let alone the government of the United States or any other foreign nation, because a Jewish man already does. And mark my words, Candace Owens, at the end of her life, when her day of judgment comes, she will bend the knee to a Jewish man. She will bend the knee to a Jew, to a Zionist, because Jesus of Nazareth was a Jewish man. He was also somebody who believed in the Jewish right to self-determination in the land of Israel, their homeland, during Roman occupation over 2,000 years ago. She may hate Jewish people and Zionists, but at the end of the day, if she truly is a Catholic and she prays to Jesus Christ and believes Jesus is King and Jesus as the Messiah, the prophet, our Lord and Savior, then she ultimately does believe in a Zionist. Jesus of Nazareth, like many people at the time, didn't believe in Roman occupation of Judea. He believed in God's promise to the Jewish people, the Abrahamic covenant, promising the Jewish nation the promised land, the land of milk and honey. He believed in and preached the right to Jewish self-determination. And that is thoroughly explained in the Holy Bible in relation to the temple and his observing of his own religion, which was Judaism. So if Candace Owens truly is Catholic, then she will bend her knee to a Jew. But this, what she is doing, cannot be explained by anything other than Candace Owens has a cluster B personality disorder, if not a dual diagnosis. This isn't cognitive intelligence. This isn't emotional intelligence or social intelligence. This is social gaslighting, manipulating, and blackmail. That is precisely how cults are born. Conceit, condescending tone in nature, holier than thou, speaking in a conceited tone in which she makes everybody else feel like she thinks she is superior. and the absolute refusal to see what she has said and done. That screams atypical, predictable, cliche, narcissist, and sociopath.
It's like, put it in a book and anybody will say it. It's like, it's just at a certain point you have to use your eyes and go, is Candace Owens promoting white nationalist rhetoric? Okay, immediately no. So what else could it be? Could it be that actually Zionism is what it actually represents?
What does that mean? Like,
Zionism is a political philosophy. Okay?
Zionist-occupied government.
If you look into the history, yes, I believe we are a Zionist-occupied government, and we're not the only one, okay? Yes, and I take it to the bank. If you need to walk out of here and say Candace Owens is a white nationalist for you to be able to digest it, then that's fine. You know, you have to deal with that in your own time. But
like,
what I will say is I stand by,
and that's where you
I stand by every statement that I made, and I want to double down on it. Okay, America is occupied by Zionists.
See how she interrupts, talks over, then belittles and berates this young woman for simply asking a question? It's disgusting. It is despicable, and it's no way to talk to anybody or treat anybody. You lead by example. And the golden rule in life is to treat others the way that you want to be treated. But she hit a sore spot with Candace because she asked a question that was direct and calling her out on her bullshit. That's why she didn't answer it. She did not answer the question whether she is or is not a white nationalist. She makes you cleverly believe that she did answer it, that she not only was doubling down but tripling down, but she didn't answer the question. She makes a different statement that she believes Zionists are running the government of America. And that, yes, she firmly believes that Zionists are not only running the government of America, but the governments of other foreign nations around the globe. Again, you see how quickly she was able to deflect that, turn it around on herself, make herself the victim, not answer the question, change the topic, and then make it seem like she was really answering the question. The only problem is that she exposed herself for the manipulator that she truly is. Because normal, good, compassionate, caring people don't operate like that. They don't think that way. They don't feel that way. Good, decent human beings are capable of having a conversation logically, compassionately, with the love, the kindness, and the care that Christ not only demands, but commands us to have with one another, not only our neighbor, but our enemies. Maybe Candace Owens needs a lot more inner reflection and psychological help than what she is able to recognize and admit, because she certainly lacks the self-awareness while trying to make you think she has self-awareness. But she wraps it up and disguises it as justice, as truth, as good and righteousness. Let me make this very clear. My allegiance is not owed to a fellow YouTuber. My faith and my relationship with God, my worth, my righteousness has nothing to do with what Candace Owens says or thinks. Her shallow, vapid, hollow judgments always passed. I am not Jewish. I am not a man. I am not a traditional Zionist. I am not being paid by a domestic or foreign donor or entity. I'm just simply intelligent, and I know what I hear, I know what I see, I know what I've watched, and I know what I've witnessed. And I highly urge anybody that is just here to be a subscriber or a follower to please stop engaging and following and subscribing and giving money to Candace Owens. When you rebuke that demonic force, I promise you, once you rid yourself of it and purge it from your life, within 7 days, you will feel so much better because you're not consuming that content anymore. And at the very core of why she does it is to make herself money, and that is greed. And God is not going to favor or anoint that kind of person. She says she won't stop until the truth is exposed. Well, she's been exposing herself.
I'd like to triple down on that if there's anybody going. I'd like to triple down on that. These tactics are super boring and tired, and this is why it hinges upon suppressing speech, right?
Yes, Candace, your manipulation and your tactics are old. It's tiring. People are done and they are over it. Deliver the full truth and finish the investigation immediately, or just stop with the bullshit manipulation. Under fair use, I want you to watch this clip because she also hits a very sensitive topic with Candace, hitting her right where it hurts the most. in the truth, dancing around her inability to actually say names, to name names, to say what she means and directly mean what she says. And Candace does this oh so well, especially on Twitter. The stereotyping and the grouping of the word they, especially formulated in a sentence in relation to something bad, evil, heinous, or homicidal, even genocidal. And then she goes on to talk about Zionists, donors, money, government, the world, a president, a prime minister, implying and insinuating that the they she is referring to is that of which follows it, whatever it may be she's talking about. But that is how she snakes and slithers her way around saying what she really wants to say by gaslighting and manipulating you into believing and thinking what she wants you to believe and think. And she knows she's exposed. Take a listen to this.
Conversation about they.
They is a word, so like I don't need to always like say they. Like it's just a weird. It's like this.
Also, take note of how pissed off she gets. She rolls her eyes. She belittles and berates what this young woman is saying or asking her. Again, trying to make her feel stupid and humiliated for even asking or implying, to then turn around and make herself appear to be the victim. But she does say they all the time, because she won't just simply say Benjamin Netanyahu and the IDF or Israel or Trump or the US military. Okay, for example, Charlie Kirk was assassinated. We all know that. We all watched that. She goes on about this long speech about how they didn't anticipate that truth and justice would come to light. They didn't anticipate this evil would be exposed. And they did not know that I would not stop until I solved the homicide and the assassination of my friend Charlie Kirk. You're better off trying to blow up the sun than stopping me, because I will not stop. The truth will come out. And then she immediately proceeds that with something along the lines of this. Bibi Netanyahu, the Prime Minister of Israel, has just unprovoked responded to the assassination of Charlie Kirk. Well, that's weird because nobody said anything about him having anything to do with the assassination of Charlie Kirk. But this is what Jewish people do. This is what Zionists do. Nothing screams guilty, don't look over here at me, than trying to get ahead of the narrative and trying to control the narrative. Because money can't, the truth will always come out. And we know that. Do you see how she so cleverly scripts her content? By making you link the they that's so evil and heinous and horrible, the they that killed Charlie Kirk and committed this horrible assassination, are in fact linked to Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, Israel, IDF, the military, the FBI. She doesn't have to say it because the way she words it makes you believe what she wants you to believe. But she does it with gaslighting and manipulating you. And her most commonly used word is the word they. She knows this because this is exactly what gives her plausible deniability when she is confronted with the things that she says. She then will backpedal and say, I did not say that. She will then use your reaction or what you say based off of what you heard her say and claim that you're falsely accusing her. That is the kind of manipulation and gaslighting and evil that she's fighting against. But she's the one who said it and created it by instigating it. And in this clip, she is incredibly frustrated, incredibly pissed off, rolls her eyes, because she's doing the same exact thing while playing this clip as she was doing inside of the clip. She's further saying, you're ridiculous for thinking this. But in this case, she thinks she's ridiculous and wants to play victim because this young woman has done something nobody else has been able to do with Candace Owens. Hold up a mirror to her. But watch the way that she squirms and slithers away without not only answering the question, but doing exactly what she is known to do. It's a very, very deep and clever manipulation tactic. It's not only hooking you right in the religion, right in the emotion, right where you have the most fear and paranoia. It is social gaslighting, social blackmail and manipulation. It is psychological warfare. that Candace Owens is perpetrating on millions and millions of people. And her drive, her vehicle for it is her content, is YouTube, is Twitter. Why do you think Candace Owens is employing the exact psychological manipulation techniques that Sigmund Freud practiced and studied, that the CIA used in MK Ultra? Why do you think she's obsessed with psychiatry and the CIA? But she didn't anticipate on somebody being smarter than her. And not only seeing her for what she is, but seeing her for what she's doing. And even though I am blind reacting, I'm telling you, Candace Owens is going to turn it around and say that this is psychological manipulation on her audience. And if you buy that, you are the problem, because she duped you. She brainwashed you. She manipulated you. She psychologically has you exactly where she wants you. Coming back and engaging and watching her content to further make her millions and millions and millions on YouTube.
It's one of these psychology tactics where you're like, who is they? Who is they? And it's like...
Because it sounds like you're saying Jews.
Does the word they mean Jews?
When you're talking about Jews, yes.
But if I'm not talking about Jews, then they doesn't mean Jews. When I say they want us to believe this or they want us to believe that and you hear Jews, that's your own derangement, right?
Not only did she hold up a mirror to Candace Owens and slap her with the truth of what she really does as far as manipulation, she then tries to say that that's psychological manipulation of her and that you're deranged if you see the truth, that you're psychologically crazy if you come to that conclusion that she wants you to come to, because that's exactly what fuels all of her content. Example, she is reacting to this clip to make her audience further think that this isn't the truth. When she says they, she certainly means exactly who she's talking about, which is almost always Jewish people, Jewish Americans, Zionists, donors, rich, wealthy, Jewish donors. And she got called out on her actual bullshit. And the internet will see it. She was right about that. The internet will clock a lie faster than she or anybody else can say the lie. And she's being confronted with that exact thing. And then she even furthers it when called out with the truth that you're deranged for even coming to that conclusion that she psychologically manipulated you to come to. Now, she's the victim and you're the bad guy. That dark, demonic, evil force and feeling that people get from Candace Owens now is no joke. This is why I turned away from Candace Owens. I felt it immediately. I even had a dream detailing this, not 3 days after Charlie Kirk was assassinated, and she started making this whole series. It's not only heavy and dark, it truly is disturbing and deranged. I can't watch her content anymore, and it's getting very hard to even cover these small clips because I see her doing something awful to real human beings behind real accounts. These are real subscribers and real followers that really engage, and they are being played by something very dark, a force that is not for truth and justice, for love and compassion and forgiveness, for leading by example, teaching with kindness, truth, love, light, and compassion. I'm starting to believe that Candace Owens doesn't know what truth and justice, love and light really are. And I think it's the most heinous, the most egregious, the most evil form of manipulation.
If I want to say something about Jews, I'll say it. If I want to say something about Israel, I will say it. If I want to, just like when I want to say something about black people, I'll say it. When I was saying during BLM, they want us to believe, nobody said, do you mean Jews? And so again, it's one of these trash tactics to make people fearful to speak. If I want to say Jews, I will say Jews. I don't fear saying Jews. When I say Zionists run the media, I mean Zionists run the media. People that support the political ideology of Israel run the media. Any other things that I can help clarify?
Are you familiar with this like very long-standing trope?
Couldn't give a shit about a trope.
I really try not to curse, but I just felt like we needed to kill it real quick. You know what I mean? Just get her to move on from it because I really don't care. And I'm so tired of these words.
See how quickly she wanted to shut it down? Why agree to sit down and have a debate or a conversation or an interview with anybody? She quickly shut it down because she faced her with reality, with the truth. And that's what pissed her off. That's what upset her. And that's why she's using that clip to further manipulate. Again, the circle jerk. The human centipede of shit talking other people. Not because she believes it, but because her constant word salads, her narcissistic and sociopathic constant word salads are so exhausting and tiring. Candace Owens expects you to go through emotional and mental gymnastics. And that's what narcissists and sociopaths rely on wearing you down mentally, psychologically, emotionally, even physically. And yet that's exactly what she's telling this young woman who simply asked a logical, truthful question that she did not answer. She had to shut it down because it's just a bunch of words and she's so exhausted and tired. No, she's pissed off that she's smarter than her and that she could not manipulate her with lies. She could not tolerate the fact that somebody was smarter than her and caught on to the truth, solved the puzzle, and knows exactly what she's doing, how she's doing it, how she's using that manipulation and that psychological manipulation. The only real question is why. Is it really for financial gain of the millions that she makes off of her YouTube channel? Or is it her own conceit, her own megalomania and psychological egoism? Because she needs the validation of knowing she can manipulate 6 million people.
In order for us to get a clean bill of health of not attacking a widow. It's like, oh, if you investigate, then you're attacking Erica. It's a nonsense. It makes me think that there's something there, right? Like, what are they so afraid of? Why is the pro-Israel lobby in particular so afraid of any incursion into the absurd story?
Perfect example. Then she follows it up right away with the pro-Israel lobby. Well, that's funny because Charlie Kirk was the biggest pro-Israel lobbyist. He commanded, taught, and urged millions on social media to follow him and to be pro-Israel also, in accordance to the Holy Bible, to the word and the will of Christ, of our Lord and Savior. But she's going to turn around and say that she didn't say that. She did. She said they, and then followed it up with Jewish lobbyists, pro-Israel lobbyists, manipulating you into believing she didn't say that, but that's exactly who she wants you to conclude they are in this particular clip. This isn't derangement or disillusionment. This is very strategic psychological manipulation. This is evil. This is very heavy demonic energy. This is shit I don't like and I don't fuck with.
Line that the feds are trying to sell us about Charlie Kirk, right? It reeks of desperation, and desperation only exists when there's something to hide, and Israel has not been acting right from the beginning of this. We know that. We know Israel has not been acting right. And then we're supposed to believe that he had that dramatic switch. So he went from, I'm done, to like, hey, love ya. How can I be of more service to you?
And he did. He was pro-Israel to the day he died. And mark my words, he is in heaven right now. He made that fascinatingly clear. He even observed the Jewish Sabbath. And take a listen to what Erica Kirk said on her recent interview, addressing Candace Owens without saying her name, and what she has to say about Charlie Kirk observing the Sabbath the week before he died. Also, I want you to note how she inadvertently asks anybody that's attacking Turning Point USA employees to please stop and to give them grace in this time, that justice will be served. The investigation is ongoing. She knows what it's built on. She's seen the investigation files, the evidence that's been collected. She has thanked the FBI and the Utah law enforcement, as well as the Trump administration, for bringing justice in less than 33 hours, for their hard work, their dedication, their staying up for 2 days straight to apprehend Tyler James Robinson. She shouldn't have to reach out to Charlie Kirk's former acquaintance from years prior and ask her to stop or shut up. Candace Owens should be God-fearing, a friend, respectful, and have the integrity enough to just know not to go there. But she could not help it. She's seen another Martin Luther King Jr. JFK once in a generation type of assassination happen, and her former links to Charlie Kirk and Turning Point USA, she just had to take the opportunity to use it for her own gain and benefit. Use it to gas herself up, gas up her own content, and to further psychologically manipulate her audience. And that is sad that she treats her own subscribers that way. However, I want you to pay very close attention to what Erica says. Take a listen.
And there is so much beauty in this world.
About trans violence when he was murdered. Do you think that was a coincidence?
I don't believe in coincidences.
Do you think they've caught your husband's killer?
So, something I'm so grateful for is that we have one of the most incredible teams for this case. I would never wish it upon anybody to have to go through what we are going through. To have seen the autopsy report, to have seen the different evidence portions that have been collected. I trust our team.
There's other theories swirling around about Charlie's assassination.
And he is implying right here about Candace Owens. She is the perpetrator, the purveyor, the instigator of all of these conspiracy theories about the assassination of Charlie Kirk. And they are talking about Candace.
Right.
How does that make you feel?
When everything happened, my phone died and became a black hole. I just didn't turn it on for weeks on end. I've intentionally insulated myself because I need to guard my heart, and I need to be there for my kids, and I need to be there for Turning Point. And what I've realized through all of this is that everyone grieves differently. Everyone is trying to figure out, and I don't blame them, how does this happen? How does somebody become so radicalized where they can justify this in their own head?
They become radicalized by psychological manipulation, exactly like what Candace Owens is doing right now, actively, with her YouTube channel and her unfounded conspiracy theories wrapped up pretty and presented as an investigation.
We just lost one of the greatest voices of our generation. Why? How? What's behind it? Like, everyone's trying to process this. And I respect that. But where my heart is just asking for some grace is for the ones who were there that day. They have to relive that every single day. He didn't die in a car accident. He didn't die from cancer. He was assassinated. And the difference between this and previous assassinations in this country is there was no social media. There was no AI. I can tell you how many fake images are out there of all of this. And again, my only request is that just please pray and consider and think about whatever you put online, because it's going to impact his kids in the future. I don't want my kids to go on the internet one day when they're older and see things that it's just, we're all trying to process this in their own way, and I appreciate that. But just some grace would be nice.
Do you feel safe?
I do. What are they going to threaten me with? Going to heaven sooner to be with my husband? And I don't say that to be reckless. I do not. I do not say that because I'm out in the streets like, here I am, come find me. And it's not at all. It's a fearlessness that's rooted in the understanding that I will have my day and my time, whenever that is.
As will we all. Now, I have questioned some of Erica Kirk's behavior recently. I've given her a lot of class and a lot of grace in her role as CEO, mother, widow. But I'm not going to lie, It is very suspicious, some of her behaviors. Complaining about cameras when the only cameras she has ever been on since her husband's assassination is Turning Point USA's cameras. When really she should be taking this period of mourning and embarking on her new role as CEO. But it's really like they're trying to pave the way for Erica Kirk to not only take over for Charlie Kirk, but to possibly get into politics one day. And God pray for her and God watch over her. But I do not want Erica Kirk as my president or vice president. And neither did Charlie Kirk. He wanted his wife to be a stay-at-home mom. I have sympathy, empathy, and compassion for everything that she is going through. But she is never going to be a representative of me, of my faith, of my politics.
When the Lord knows that I've completed my mission, and I'm not afraid. Charlie wasn't afraid either. We never lived in fear. If we did, we wouldn't get anything done. And I can't help run alongside this mission of Turning Point USA and raise my babies with fear. I can't. That's not a life to live for anybody.
What's the hardest part of your day?
The nighttime, always. I'll tell him about my day. I talk to him all the time. But the nights are the hardest. Being in a bed by yourself. Rolling over, trying to... Goodnight kiss that's not there. It's... And anyone who's a widow knows what that means. How painful that is. Excuse me. It's so easy to take the little things for granted, but...
Erica Kirk is a plant.
Charlie wrote you letters.
I know.
Every week?
Every Saturday. So he would turn his phone off to honor the Sabbath. He would come in, open the junk drawer. Everyone has a junk drawer. Open the junk drawer, said Shabbat Shalom, put it in there, turn the phone off, slam the door, and he felt so free because he was unreachable.
Are you kidding me? Shabbat Shalom! They are rubbing it in our faces at this point. Erica Kirk is a honeypot for sure. I'm sorry, the fact she can say that with a smile on her face shows that she was in on it. Not to mention what Charlie Kirk said in his final days. How about those 12 Israeli phones at the UVU campus that Candace Owens mentioned? Nope, they placed her in. They placed her in to replace Charlie to continue the pro-Zio propaganda, because otherwise he would have taken everyone at Turning Point with him. Charlie turned their back on them in the final months. Turning Point USA put Ben Shapiro on his show after they took him out, and they're literally all sitting here smiling. Everything that Charlie said in his final days just proved him right. He was betrayed by everybody.
Holy shit, they are trying to replace Usha Vance with Erica Kirk, because Erica Kirk and JD Vance is their Christian nationalist wet dream. And you won't convince me otherwise. Because what is this? What is this body language? When did we start putting our hands up in the hair of our friends when we hug? Yeah, no, you don't. This is weird. Oh, and then there's this one. JD, why are your hands so low? There's no reason for them to be on her hips, but there they are. But if that's not enough, here is her introducing him at Turning Point.
I am tremendously blessed and honored tonight to be able to introduce to you a very, very dear friend and his wife. They are incredible. And I see no one will ever replace my husband. No. But I do see some similarities of my husband in JD and Vice President JD Vance. I do.
And if you're not convinced yet that they're trying to replace her with Erica Kirk, this is him when asked by a student about him and his wife's difference in their religious beliefs, and he ends it with this.
Do I hope eventually that she is somehow moved by the same thing that I was moved in by church? Yeah, I honestly do wish that, because I believe in the Christian gospel, and I hope eventually my wife comes to see it the same way.
He wants her to fall in line. He wants her to be a Christian nationalist just like him. And if he can't convince her, he'll find a new one.
Mark my words, truth and God as my witness. If you watch and subscribe to Candace Owens, Tucker Carlson, Ben Shapiro, Matt Walsh, Nick Fuentes, Megyn Kelly, Charlie Kirk, or Turning Point USA, they are all doing the same thing. They are all in on it together, And they are all operating under the same exact psychological manipulation. They are all people, along with even Piers Morgan and Dan Wooten, who have been fired, canceled from mainstream media. Fox News, CNN, BBC, The Daily Wire, a former YouTube channel and podcast associated with a university. They are not journalists. They are not investigators. They are not politicians or public figures. They are people deliberately there to make content, circle jerking each other, human centipeding each other, arguing and debating with each other, using each other's content, talking about each other, to all psychologically manipulate you as an audience. And they all get to go home in their nice luxury cars to their big houses, mansions on acres and acres of property, hang out with real politicians, real wealthy people, because these people are all a part of the elite class. And I would bet you all of their net worth and liquidated assets combined that they are all in the Illuminati, and their psychological manipulation, their social blackmail, their cult-like mentality that you're not good, righteous, God-fearing, or faithful to God unless you're on my side, because only I can be correct. You're evil and demonic like the rest of them, like the other side, if you align with them or listen to them. It's all bullshit, and it's all a smokescreen, because as long as they have millions and millions of Americans following them, watching them, buying their rhetoric and their conspiracy theories, they psychologically, with words, put you exactly where they want you to be. Be smart. Be better. Pay attention. Listen. And once you see it, you cannot unsee it. Save your soul. Save your body. Save your heart. Save your mind. And unsubscribe to all of that garbage. Do not fall for it, and don't let it in your life, because you are opening up a demonic and dark force into your life, into your world, by consuming that kind of content. And it will change you and hook you in ways that you cannot anticipate until it's too late. As always, I love you. I appreciate you being here. Thanks for watching. Please like, share, subscribe. I will catch you all on the next one.